Greater Macon Chamber of Commerce. We welcome the community to today's Town Hall Forum. We're so happy as the Chamber to provide these Town Hall Forums in order to keep our membership and our community up to date on very important topics. I'm very happy to welcome our Chairman, Julia Magda, who will now introduce our distinguished guest.
Thank you, Yvonne. Dr. Curtis Jones, Jr. is a passionate educator dedicated to developing students as scholars, leaders, and good citizens. He joined the Bibb County School District in April 2015 and was named Georgia Superintendent of the Year in 2018, leading to his recognition as National Superintendent of the Year in February 2019. Using his classroom and administrative experience, Dr. Jones developed the Bibb County District's strategic plan, Victory in Our Schools, which we're all familiar with by now. As superintendent, he works to ensure the district's instructional practices meet the standards and the needs that the students have to prepare them to be college or career ready. When he joined the district, Dr. Jones set one of his first long-term goals as raising the graduation rate to 90% by 2025. The class of 2019 had a graduation rate of 79.4%, and 6 of the district's 7 high schools had graduation rates greater than 80% in 2019, putting the district on track to achieving this lofty goal. Under his leadership, the Bibb County School District has been cited for its work to advance the district and its students. Among those achievements, 2 of our Bibb elementary schools were recognized as National Distinguished Title I schools. We are very proud of them and all of the work that our district continues to do. Dr. Jones, thank you for being with us here today, and I'll turn it over to you for your remarks.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I think this is the 3rd time, probably since the spring, I've had an opportunity to share with the community where we are and what we're doing. So hopefully this will go well, and I'll be able to share with you our current status, and I'm looking forward to it. I think the last time I had an issue sharing my screen, so I'm gonna try and solve that problem. So help me out, guys. We'll go here, and I do believe it's this one. Well,
That's correct.
I don't see. Do you see it?
We do.
Okay. Well, thank you, guys. I want to appreciate it. As we educate students in Bibb County during COVID-19 2020, I want to give you an update. But at the end of the day, we still believe our students will leave us this year better leaders, better scholars, and better citizens. It's focused on this vision. And in this time of COVID-19, it's very important that our students and faculty and staff demonstrate strength of character. We can't do this without them taking on that extra load, because we will not have a teacher in the room with students if we're doing virtual learning. It's also important for teachers to recognize this is a new world. They're all new this year. And so we're going to do our very best. That's why our mission says we're focused on having a highly trained staff and an engaged community. So I want to thank the Chamber for allowing me this time to speak with our business community as well as other stakeholders. I greatly appreciate this opportunity, as well as our Board of Education for giving us the support that we need in order to be successful. Let me just share one thing though. Over here, it's going to be very easy for people this year to say, man, they didn't do it well. You know, it was somebody else's job. Why can't somebody come teach my kids? What is the reason? Finger pointing, saying it's not my job. It's all of our jobs to make this work. So don't be below the line. Please be above the line. If you see an issue, own it, and then help us solve it so we can then do what needs to be done to make this year the very best for our students, because this year can never be made up. This is our opportunity to get it right. This strategy map that we've worked on continues. We have learned now there's more with this idea of no technology. We are going to be using this to the very maximum in order to provide a quality education for our students. This one here also, where he says we want to maintain a safe learning environment, has taken on new meaning in COVID-19. and we will talk about that more today. This strategy map has been in place since 2015, and it has guided our work. At the end of the day, though, we want to get to a CCRPI, College Career Readiness Index, greater than 70%. But how did it start? Well, if you go all the way back, even in Atlanta, they reported that we were going to close school in March because of COVID-19. It was state news then because a lot of school districts are trying to figure out what to do. But we were leading the state at that point in many ways with COVID-19 breakout. And state leaders have had their say. Governor Brian Kemp and our state school superintendent, Richard Woods, have said they prefer to have schools with students in class for in-person instruction, but they were not going to mandate that. In fact, on July 21st, State School Superintendent Richard Woods reiterated his position that it would be left to the districts to determine how best to reopen schools. National leaders have also staked out positions. President Donald Trump has urged all schools to open fully as a critical component of fully reopening the nation's economy. He and Secretary Betsy DeVos have raised the possibility of cutting school funding if we don't comply with early face-to-face reopenings, though typically, and it's true in our district, most of our money comes from local taxpayers. But William Hatcher, a professor and interim chair at the Department of Social Sciences at Augusta University, has said it best. All of this is just a mix of expert guidance and politics, trying to figure out how to get this done. But we can't stop with those individuals. Johns Hopkins University on May 12th said the World Health Organization has advised all governments that before reopening, rates of positivity in testing should remain at 5% or lower for at least 14 days. I'm sure those of you who've kept up with this recognize this positivity rate of 5%, and it remains a standard even today. So what's happening locally? Because it really determines what we are going to do. And so I'm so thankful for our local county government, Macon Bibb, for what they've been able to do to share with us their thoughts as they were moving forward to help our community do better. And I'm also very thankful to this website where they've even cited the North Central Health District as the place to go to get information for what's happening with us for COVID-19. So we are racing to the start. We're racing to the start of this school year, 2020-2021. And it has been a mad dash. First, we had to do our budget. We had to delay the budget process because of COVID-19, but at the end, the state government decided to reduce our state funding by $11 million. That $11 million was because they had received cuts and revenues weren't coming in as well as they should. I'm happy for that. Truthfully, the 10% cut of $11 million was not what we were told initially. It could have been as high as 14%. So we're happy it was only 10. So what did we do? In order to make that work, we decided that we could cut 62 positions from our staff. Half of those came from the central office, half came from the schools. We also recognized we had to reduce the number of substitutes that we were bringing in. We had to cut the amount of overtime that we were paying. We also had individuals that had worked in off times to create more resources for us that we call service agreements. We had to cut that. And this past summer, as well as next summer, we're planning on cutting summer school for grades 3, 5, and 8. That totaled about $7 million in savings for us as we tried to get to the cut of 10% that the state had given us. The state also received some CARES money from the federal government. We were able to get basically $8.1 million to help us with this as well. Now, as this process was going, we didn't know how big the cut would be. We were working on the 14%, and the $8.1 million came in a very handy way. And we were able to use it to keep us from going too deeply into our cash reserves. So in case this becomes more than a one-year event, we have some reserves and more flexibility. And so we're very thankful to the state and the federal government for helping us out with the CARES money. The other action we had to take in this race to the start was to approve our millage rate. As you know, that's how taxes are paid and how we are able to receive our local funding. And I'm very excited and pleased to announce that for 4 years in a row, we have reduced our millage rate. When I arrived in 2015, we were at 17.9, and we were spending, it was deficit spending. So I asked the board and got permission to increase the millage rate, and it went up to 19.9, but then it decreased in 17, 18, 19, and 20, so that now it's about half a mil higher than it was when we first arrived. I know many people would say, well, why did you go up so much that first year? We had to in order to get a lot of things in place so we'll be ready for what's happening now. And so, again, I'm very thankful for the board's support back in 16, and I'm very thankful for their support in 17, 18, 19, and 20 as we have reduced our millage rate. So, with all that racing to the top and doing stuff in the background, what's happening with our schools? Well, first, the State Department of Georgia, as well as the Department of Health, gave us a model, and they said you need to prepare for all scenarios. One is high risk, where if the spread of coronavirus is high, you know how you're going to do distant learning. You need to have a low risk plan, and if the low risk plan is in place, then have kids come back to school. And you got to have something in the middle as well. And so we worked hard to develop all three of those plans, and we briefed that to our Board of Education during the first week of July. And our board approved our plan to go with high risk based upon the local situation. So we will be doing virtual learning through at least October 30th. When we first announced this town hall, I thought it would be this week that we would announce that, but it turned out, based upon the coronavirus situation, we were able to give our staff and parents more time. And I'm very thankful that the board allowed us to make that decision even earlier. So currently, we're going to be going back remote learning for all of our students. That's going to present some challenges. How do we make sure we stay focused? Well, again, I'm very thankful to the North Central Health District. Weekly, they meet with me as well as the other 12 superintendents in our area and share with us the latest information. This is the latest operational summary from August 23rd. And it shows that the number of tests that have occurred for BIB is now over 6,000. That is an increase. This shows also that 1,800 of those were collected between August 17th and August 23rd. But let's get back to this positivity rate. Remember I said the World Health Organization said it should be 5% or lower? Well, for the first time since March, we got down to 5%. You can see that we were, and this was over a 21-day period, not the 14 days that's been discussed. But as we're looking at this, it's important to recognize that we are moving in the right direction, and I'm very thankful. You can also see the positivity rate for the other counties that are in our health district. And again, 5% is where we are, and we really need to be below that. The summary also shared, though, that for the current 14-day period, the incident rate for Bibb County is 514. Let me explain that. What they say is that in order to be less than high risk, you should have less than 100 cases per 100,000 people. Less than 100. And currently we're at 514, which means that we are 5 times the number that the health experts say we should be to if we want to be below substantial spread. The previous 2 weeks, our number was 720. We were 7 times. Once again, we're moving in the right direction, but this 514 number is still way too high. You can see that we did have an increase in our newly confirmed cases in Bibb County as well, from the current to the previous 2-week period. Let's talk about that. This 9% increase reports the cases for Bibb County. And what it says is that 9% of those, they were able to say it was because of a specific location, which means it's not community spread. But right here in the middle is the key for us. The other 91% of cases reported during this time frame in Bibb County have not been attributed to a single area of concern, and represent community spread within the county. That number, 91%, needs to decrease even more. So I'm going to publicly ask, if we want our kids in school, I'm going to ask that we wear a mask, wash our hands, and socially distance. We have to get the numbers down, or it's not going to be safe for students or staff. When you look at what's happening currently with the 2-week period, as far as age is concerned, this is troubling. The percent of people who are in the age group of 25 to 34 has increased. Those are the age of our parents. The one right above it, 35 to 39, are some parents as well as some grandparents. And we're now seeing the number of students that are increasing as well. This number has grown from where it was a month ago. So it's now not just focused on the elderly, where it was down here with those 80 and above or 65 and above. It has now come to younger groups. So we all need to be careful. But I don't stop there and just looking at what the North Central Health District shares or what the state does. I also subscribe to this daily digest that a local professor who works at Mercer produces. She's well respected throughout the state. She produces this document. It comes out 4 times a week. Here's what the latest one said. When adjusted for population, Georgia is the fourth highest state in the nation for cases per 100,000 in the last 7 days. Virgin Islands, Mississippi, North Dakota, and then Georgia. And this is what she's talking about. Per 100,000, we were at 162. We need to improve that statewide. Bibb County can help if we can get our numbers down. She also went on to say that the New York Times took the CDC tool and quantified it for each of the states. For Georgia, they calculated 5,700 excessive deaths from the period of March 15th through August 8th. That means that they're saying COVID-19 is responsible for increasing the number of deaths by 5,700. The Georgia Department of Education, Georgia Department of Public Health has a different number. They say the number is really close to 4,713. I can accept that as well, but both those numbers are too high. But if you accept the Department of Health number, then the other metrics show this. Things are better now than they were a week ago, but we're still too high. And we really should be doing all we can to reduce the transmission. Average cases per 100,000, Georgia ranks 3rd in the nation. Total cases for the past 7 days, here's that 4th place that I shared with you earlier. Cumulative tests performed, we're 9th. We need to increase that. We need to do better. The achievement of our goals, we're number 38, which means we're not finding reduction of the spread of the coronavirus. Deaths per 100,000 last 7 days, we're 7th in the nation. Cumulative deaths per 100,000, we're 18th. And the percent of inpatient beds occupied by COVID patients, we're number 1 in the nation. We need to do better. So with this being the backdrop, how are we going to put students back in school? We still believe it's mission first, people always, this time 2.0. We did the first one back in the spring. So we still have 3,500 employees and we're retaining most of them. We have our school reopening plans that we've implemented. We did a new teacher orientation virtually. We've conducted new hiring orientation meetings, and we're even doing virtual hiring fairs where we found almost 15 people to help us with our positions. We're looking at our high-risk employees and providing options for them to continue to work. We provided guidance for how we're going to report when COVID-19 cases develop in our schools or with our employees. And we developed guidelines for how our employees can work from home. But in order to continue to be a reliable organization, we continue with our onboarding of our people. We still have people who are retiring. We still have people who have to get certification, and we're continuing to move forward with our community partners. Thank you, university partners, for these 150 student teachers who are going to have the experience of their lives as we go through this COVID-19 this year. We're also going to support the individuals. Thank you, College and Career Academy Hutchins, where they have produced more than 10,000 signs for us to display in all of our facilities. Wear a mask, wash your hands, stop, let us check your temperature. We're also working with our local child care facilities to help our employees find places where their children can go when their parents are working. And we have new resources virtually that we're helping our parents and students learn so they can implement the new Remind program we have, as well as Canvas. I'll talk about them more later. Let's begin with Remind. If this process is going to work for us, community, I need your help. We have to communicate, communicate, communicate. I have to have parents giving us the correct phone number so we can reach them. We've created tutorials, we're conducting workshops, we're answering questions, we're doing all we can to make sure our parents are fully aware and engaged, and we're doing it virtually. Our schools are going to prohibit visitors from coming in. We're going to control who comes into our facilities so we can keep people safe. And we're doing as many meetings as we can virtually. We've implemented a new program called Remind, though, so we think it's going to help us with this process. I actually sent a remind out, I guess it was 2 days ago. It went to more than 5,000 people, where I was just able to tell them how happy I was with the work that we're doing. But if you want to contact us, go to our website, go to our Facebook page, go to Twitter, use Let's Talk. Quick story. I had a parent who's told us that they were trying to create a space at home for their children to work. They needed a desk or something. We had a bunch of desks in our warehouses. So we put them up for sale, $6. They have been flying out the doors. People are creating spaces in their homes for students to be able to work. And the Remind also works best when we have the correct phone number. We're going to continue to provide meals for our students because we know that was an issue in the spring. Be two options. If a student rode the bus, they'll be able to go to their bus stop and then be able to pick their meal up at their bus stop. They'll get 2 meals, but they have to sign up the day before so we know how many meals to prepare. If they don't ride the bus or if they are walkers, they'll be able to go to the school, and at the school, just like we did this past summer, they'll be able to pick up the meals there. We're also issuing our one-to-one devices. Grades 2 through 12, we're going to have a Dell device, laptop. Pre-K through first grade will be issued iPads. We actually issued over 10,000 devices last week to our students in grades 2 through 12. This week, we started issuing the iPads. We'll be finishing that up today. Very excited about that. Thank you, Board of Education, and thank you, taxpayers, for allowing us the resources to do that. We also have internet access that's a problem, and so we've addressed that issue. We partnered with the $1 million Project Foundation to provide internet access. In December of 2019, we provided our high school students with over 1,300 hotspots. This September, we're going to issue another 1,700 to families that need a hotspot as well because they don't have internet connectivity. The bus you see here is Wi-Fi equipped. We currently have 7 of those, and we're going to put them throughout the community so families will be able to connect with them. Throughout the year, we will be able to increase that number from 7 to 27. So we're addressing the issue of Wi-Fi internet access as best we can. You probably heard that recently we decided to restart sports. So what's going to happen is softball and cross country are picking back up August 31st. Volleyball will resume September 7th, and football will resume September 14th. I know people are asking, how can you have sports happening when you don't have kids in school? Well, I think it's a couple of things. One, when we say kids have to come to school, it's mandatory. The law backs that up. When we say we're going to resume sports, that's voluntary. Parents have the option to say their children will not participate. The other issue, though, is when I say we're not going to have kids in class, I have a viable option, which is virtual learning, that we have put in a lot of time and effort into. I don't have an option for athletics. You either do it or you don't. And if we miss this opportunity, it's gone forever. And so because parents have the option and because there is not a viable alternative to it, we decided to go back in with sports. But we're doing it safely. I need to thank Barney Hester, our athletic directors, as well as our coaches for putting in place safety protocols. But again, community, I need your help. This third bullet says we need to practice social distancing. We're going to have cashless ways of letting you buy concessions, But listen, if we don't do what needs to be done, we may end up having to play these games without fans. So please, 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 socially distance and recognize that we need your help if we want our students to be able to benefit from this option. We're also going to limit the capacity in our facilities to 20%, again, so we can better socially distance. Students going to be in school during their regular hours. They're going to be learning virtually through October. We gave parents an option for remote learning, and we've been putting out a lot of videos to help them with that. The biggest difference for us this year, this fall and spring, is Canvas, where we will be able to better relate with our students. We will have some learning that will be done live and some will be done offline. Here's a video. If I were to click this, you would be able to see how this teacher is going to greet her students in kindergarten on the first day. They will be able to click on this button here that says Canvas, and when they click on it in kindergarten, the student will be able to click this button for PE to get their PE instruction. When it's time to go to art, when it's time to do music, when it's time to do technology, here's science, social studies, reading, and math. All it is a click of a button. Teachers have done an amazing job. They have been able to do that because we gave them time in August to practice, to get ready. Canvas is hard, it's new, but they've done a great job. Here's the Remind app that I shared with you earlier. Again, please sign up. Here's where we had more than 23,000 Remind notices and announcements that went out yesterday, and 12,000 parents received it. We're continuing to work that. So in closing, we're going to do our best to get this right. We're going to do this to get it right. But I also want you to know we're doing better than you think in other areas as well. Let me close with this. You've seen this chart before in a different version where it says for graduation for the class as they graduated from 15 through 2019. For the state, the graduation rate was 79 and it went to 82. In Bibb County, it went from 71 to 79. So we've closed the gap. But this is for all students. Let me share with you some new information. When we look at our Black students, back in 2015, the state was at 75 for the students who were Black in the state. In Bibb, our Black students had a graduation rate of 72. Here in 2019, we've closed the gap, so they're both at 80. That's amazing. We're at 80. For our white students, back in 2015, the state had a graduation rate for white students of 83. It increased to 86. We increased from 67 to 80 for our white students. Now, we still have more work to do. We're not where we want to be, but let me say this to you. Many of you know that these are with the students who are in our schools, but in Bibb County, we have a lot of students who some of you will say are in private schools and are really going to graduate, or are now in a charter school. If those students were with us, we would be above the state. So it is now time for us to stop saying that the school system is holding us back. I think this data about graduation rates comparing Black students in the county to those in the state, white students in the county to white students in the state, demonstrate that our teachers are doing an amazing job. They have closed that. We have great facilities, we have great teachers, and they've done it. I have one other one I want to show you. Most of our students are economically disadvantaged. Means they have issues. Back in 2015, the economically disadvantaged students graduation rate was 75. For the county, it was 74. In 17, we changed that. We started leading the state. And so for 3 years in a row now, our economically disadvantaged students have outperformed the state. This past year in 2019, we were at 80%. The state was at 77. So I'm going to say again, it's time we stop saying the school system can't educate our kids. It's time we stop saying the school system is holding us back. The students that come to us, we do a great job, and we're continuing to work to do that. And with your help, we'll be able to do it during this COVID-19. So I want to thank you for giving me this time to spend with you and share with you an update on where we are. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and see if there are any questions that you have for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Jones. That was just a fabulous update, and so many challenges and so many moving parts. I'd love to hear your perspective of where we are now in Macon with having the commission restricting the use of not being in a mask in the businesses and in the community public spaces, and even taking that to where it's now becoming an ordinance. What is your thoughts about that, especially as we're in this peak period? And what do you think we need to be doing to really be serious over a period of time with that restriction?
Well, I am very thankful that the commission and the mayor took that action. It is something that the White House Coronavirus Task Force has said Georgia needed to do. It is something that when you look around, the best intervention we can put in place is to wear a mask. And if we want students in school, we need to do it. And I think the best way to do that is by leading by example. So let me show you something. Here's one mask. Here's two. Here's my third one. Rutland High, thank you very much. Here's VIP 1, VIP 2. Leaders have to demonstrate that it's important that we wear a mask. And so I thank the commission for doing it. I thank our Board of Education for continuing to meet virtually. And I continue to thank all of us for doing what we can to make it better. And we can't let our students and our children violate that on the weekends. What they do on the weekend will impact us during the week. And so I know it's a matter of personal freedom versus what you consider a mandate, but we are in this together and we need to work together. So I commend the commission and the mayor for the action they took.
Thank you. And that leads me to the next question of, we're coming upon a holiday with Labor Day. It seems like everybody, gets a little bit more concerned when we have these breaks. What is your thoughts from the data you've been seeing that we need to be prepared to weigh this out for a period of time? I mean, is it looking several weeks out? And in your perspective, how serious should we be as a community to really take the time to make sure we're going through a proper period of restrictions?
So with some of the data I shared with you earlier, you notice that the positivity rate was a 21-day period. That is because it has taken us longer to get lab results back in. It should be a 14-day period. That's one problem. Back in July, we were told by the North Central Health District that they were very concerned about the 4th of July weekend, that there was going to be a lot of people coming out, getting involved, not socially distancing, and that it would not be until the end of July before we would see the impact. And they were right. The numbers started going up in July. One of the reasons I was able to make the call about us going back virtually is because in the middle of August, we were still being impacted by decisions that people made during the 4th of July weekend. So for this Labor Day weekend, I'm looking at the same thing. I believe that in some cases, people are going to get together. In some cases, they're not going to socially distance. And I anticipate the numbers going up. And if they do, we won't see the results until the end of September, which is one of the reasons why I decided that we needed the first 8 weeks to be virtually so we can get past that and then see where we are. And so I'm concerned about it. I'm hopeful that we'll listen to the governor as he has said, wear a mask, socially distance, wash your hands. I hope we listen to our local folks. And truthfully, you got to do it with your family as well. We need to do it at the very best of our ability if we want to get back to a sense of normalcy, because right now the numbers are not there.
With the broadband challenges and where there's disparity among some of the neighborhoods, what do you see are the next pieces that we need to connect, support, and even look to state resources or community business resources to help our community at large?
So thank you for that one. I think several things are happening. One, I shared with you that we gave out some hotspots. We have a total of 13,000 students who are economically disadvantaged. We gave out, what was it, 1,700 back at 1,300 back in the spring. We have another 1,700 we're going to give out in September. And so those numbers are low. We also are now saying that we're going to give every student a device and make sure they have access. And so for those who continue to struggle, we're going to need help. And the hotspots are not free. but the community can help. The county commission has shared with us they have access to some more CARES funding, and we've asked them to help address that issue for us. And so I'm hopeful that some of that will come in and we'll be able to get more hotspots that will be available. The other place where I think we're going to have issue is with students being at home and trying to log on. If you're a daycare facility, please let your students bring their devices and help them get into the system. We're willing to work with you now more than ever because, again, we're in this together. And I think that as we work with Cox and others to continue to keep the rates low, families going to have to prioritize. You know, I mean, I was told once by a stakeholder who I was talking to that when they were going to school, their parents did everything they could to make sure their child, that person, got the best education they could. We need to do the same thing now, and we got to set some priorities. And so we need to be able to make sure that we set a place aside in the home for students to study. We need to make sure that we check on them to see what they're doing, and we need to make sure they stay out of the streets. They need to stay out of the streets and stay at home and be on the internet in the right places, not the wrong places. We have some safeguards for that, but always smart kids can work around even the safest procedures and guidelines and barriers we put up. I hope I answered that question.
Yes, you did. In growing the business education partnerships, which has been a very strong initiative over the years, what do you see forthcoming that the businesses can continue to do to help with teachers, mentorships, and other activities that would be very important during this period?
Well, I don't want to leave out where we've come from. Again, I have to thank the BEP, Business Education Partnership, especially Blake Sullivan for the work that they did and that he did with the Leader in Me. I said when I first started my presentation, kids are going to have to demonstrate more strength of character. The Leader in Me is the way we do that, and the Leader in Me is how we build leadership. And so I think that's very important. As Blake has left the co-chairmanship of that, and as Roy Bibb has stepped in, I think the new focus, especially with the One Macon plan, is that we now move towards getting more internships in place. And so as the businesses are working with us, please recognize that our students want to come to work. They want to be fully prepared. They don't want to a large gap in their skills in order to give you what you need. We're working on collaboration, respect, coordination, being responsible. But we need your help to give them that opportunity so they can see what real work looks like. Irving is working with us now to put that in place. As I was talking with some leaders yesterday, we can still do virtual visits so they can talk. You can still do virtual class meetings so you can tell them about what you're looking for. And as we work through this internship process, I think it's going to be key. Kids need to see it. So I'm hopeful that the BEP will help us in that regard with finding more internships for our students. I'll be honest, paid ones are better than not paid, but students are happy to get what they can. And by doing that, I think we'll see more people will stay in our area and work. The BEP put in place a goal that half the jobs that would be created would be filled by people living in our area. I think the BEP can help us with that as well. And then lastly, we're working with Warner Robins Air Base to try and increase our relationship with them as well, so that as they have people who want to move to this area, they're considering BIB. They now believe our system is better. I've heard that from some of the commanders there. I'm very thankful for that they are recognizing that we have improved. And we're asking them also to step up their process of internships with us. And so I'm very hopeful.
Well, thank you, Dr. Jones. This has just been a fabulous update. We are in this together, and we're united in partnership together. And we're so thankful that the business community with the Bibb County Public Schools have really joined forces. The Chamber's happy to be there and to make that even a bigger partnership going forward. We thank all the people in the community for joining us today on this very important update. We will have this recording posted on our Facebook page and throughout the website of the chamber so parents and community leaders can go back and see this wonderful data and what's driving our decision process as we stage the COVID resilience phases. I do want to announce that we will not have a town hall next Friday due to the Labor Day holiday, but we want you to be safe and follow the restrictions, and really let's all do our part. We will come back on the 11th to have a fabulous update by Josh Rogers with Newtown and Gary Wheat with Visit Macon. So please do our part and wear your mask.
Good job, Yvonne.